Mystery Bros. Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros.
All right, so my name is Evan,
And I'm Morel.
and we are the Mystery Bros.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. This is going to be our podcast. We're basically just going to kind of be talking about all different kinds of mysterious things happening in the world, conspiracies, mysterious events, mysterious civilizations, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of, keep everybody guessing.
know,
keep everybody in the know, keep everybody woke about all the stuff that is going on mysteriously in this world.
And we're going to also keep it real. We're not like crazy out there as well.
Yeah, we sometimes we have biased opinions about things, but we're going to just talk about the facts. We're going to talk about, everything that we know, everything that we can, both sides. So it's not going to be super biased podcast.
Correct.
Yeah. So with our first episode here, we're going to be talking about Bob Lazar and all the mysterious things around that guy.
It's just a fascinating story about how he got into UFOs, and the first person who really claimed to actually have worked on UFOs, so it's very interesting.
True, yeah.
That's actually plausible. Like, I'm sure someone else has said some BS.
Yeah, there's been many claims of people talking about that kind of stuff, but Bob Lazar's, got some real factual stuff behind him, and it's a big mystery. So we're going to get into that, and thank you guys for listening, and keep up in the future. We're going to be talking about all kinds of really cool, crazy stuff. So we got things going now. So, we're going to get into this. So this can be our first episode. Obviously, we're going to be talking about our buddy Bob Lazar and his amazing story. We'll kind of go into the whole spiel. We'll go into everything that he's talked about, whether we believe it or not, this and that. We'll go into his background. We'll go into, what happened afterwards. We're going to go into the whole story, basically, of Bob Lazar, and just kind of go into how we feel about it and what we think is true, what we don't think is true, and just, full disclosure will come out. I kind of believe him, man. Like, I don't know. It's tough because now that I've been doing so much research into it and, like, looking into so much stuff, it's like,
There's things that don't add up here and there, yeah.
There's things that just don't add up some places, but I feel like the majority of it is... The thing is, you gotta want to believe, and I really do, is the thing. Like, I really do want to believe.
If he's making it up, dude, you're living your life like a lie. Like, you have to go lie to your wife, lie to your friends every day. Could you have a documentary made of something that you, like, never did? Like,
right? Isn't that crazy?
Wouldn't that, like, hurt you? Like, dude, everybody believed, like, all these people, like, believe me, but, like, I just bullshit them. Like,
plenty of people do that, bro. Plenty of people do that.
I know, but, like, me self-consciously, like, I just feel like I could never do that.
The thing that I think that gives him a lot of credibility is that he's not, like, making any money off of this. He's not, like, getting rich off this. He's not, like, flying around the world talking about aliens to anybody. He doesn't want to talk about it. He hates talking about it. And, like, the few occasions where he was talking about it, it doesn't, he gets all flustered. Like, in the JRE he did, like, he had a migraine. You know what I mean? So it's like, he doesn't like talking about it. He doesn't make a ton of money off this. It's just something that he felt he wanted to share, which I think gives him a little more credibility in my book.
Correct.
But yeah, so we'll get into the whole story. We're gonna start off. Arel's gonna talk about his background, how he came up, all that kind of stuff, and then we'll kind of go from there.
I definitely think out of all the stories I've heard that this is probably the most intriguing and
like all the alien stories
of sightings and everything.
This
is definitely the most.
There's plenty of them out there that are just like, you're batshit crazy, bro.
Well, like, I'm sure some others are like real too, but like I think this is the coolest story. So we can start off how Bob got this job. So if you believe his story, again, nothing can be verified. We'll just say that up front. That he
we learned that last time. Dennis Mariani is nowhere to be found.
So if you go look at it, so he claims he got his bachelor's degree in physics and a master's from MIT and Caltech. And he was very into propulsion, I think, and that's what like started him job. Like he first, like, his first job was in Los Alamos. He was a physicist there. He made a rocket it's a rocket car, jet engine fueled car.
He basically put a jet engine into his Honda and was driving that around.
And there's actually a news article about it, and I've done some more research. That article is real.
Nice.
That article that's verifiable.
You can go research on that.
You can go look in the archives. I actually went and looked into the Los Alamos archives of newspapers, so that article actually does exist. And in that article, it claims that he's a physicist and he worked at Los Alamos Space. From there, I think he said he put his resume around, and that's when he got contacted by EG&G, which is the company that I guess worked for Area 51. So I think how he got the interview, they just told him to go first to EG&G, and they're talking about you can do a lot of work on propulsion, and it's going to be in the desert. And at first, you didn't think like too strangely about it. Like you think it's like a lot of field tests, because especially since they do a lot of nuclear. A lot of nuclear things have been done at Area 51. If you ever looked at Google Maps, you can look at all the holes in the test range that they have. So that's not
uncommon.
They
just have Area 51 like on Google Maps. Like you can just look over that spot.
Yeah, you don't know that?
Really?
You just see a base, and you see
you can see the base and shit.
You can see the base.
Of course, cool. I would have thought they would have like blocked that out.
If you look over the Papoose Lake, you will not see S4. I think a lot of people have tried. You will not see it. But again, like how like it all depends.
Maybe they stopped that. Maybe they're like, okay, we'll let them see Area 51.
I think Area 51 is also common knowledge. Like everybody knows that base exists.
Yeah, and Area 51 is not necessarily like top secret spacecraft stuff, right? Area 51 is just kind of like a military test zone, right?
So Area 51, they do more of the secret, like where the stealth fighters and where they test new, I guess, aircraft that are American made.
Okay, it's like military stuff.
Which they probably added from the S4 reverse engine. I don't know. I don't know that part. But anyway, so he got the job. I believe his first day, he actually went to Area 51. He had to sign the 1010 agreements where it said, like, if you reveal any of these secrets, you will pay $10,000 or be punishable by death. He has the right to do that. He has to sign
$10,000 or death.
Something like that. And then to sign, and it's actually more secret than Area 51. Like, people at Area 51 don't know S4 exists, so he got even higher clearance than that. Which is pretty cool.
Did you figure out what the name of the clearance was?
It's Q clearance. It's Q clearance.
I thought there was a name for it, man. Like there was a cool name for it. Okay, maybe.
So he got Q clearance, which is higher than Area 51. So that's pretty cool. And then he got on the bus, blacked out bus, didn't know where he was going. Which I guess, I don't know how you know it's Papoose, but let's go. I bet you can probably figure that out.
He had to know, right? Because eventually they told him he had to be there and stuff.
Correct. So he got on the blacked out bus. He got to Papoose, and do you want to take over from here?
Okay, yeah. So basically, his story is pretty crazy. Like, so apparently, like the first day, he didn't really get to see much. But he did a lot of paperwork and he did a lot of readings, and he was reading the readings where he said were pretty crazy, like pretty interesting stuff. And at the time he was like, he didn't believe any of it, right? He was like, this is all silly. Like he thought it was something like
a test maybe or something.
Yeah, like some sort of like reading comprehension thing just to try and figure out like what kind of like nonsense he can memorize, that kind of stuff.
Which makes sense because he's a physicist, like he's down to earth, like kind of guy.
Yeah. And he also thought like a lot of times they'll put stuff like fake stuff in there with there just so that like if anything gets leaked, they know where it came from type of thing. So he thought a lot of the stuff was just like nonsense because they were talking to him about the propulsion system and stuff that we're going to get into eventually. And it was just nonsense to him. So he was like, this is crazy. And then, the time came where it was time for him to start working on the thing, and they told him so. your job is going to be you're going to work with this one person. His name was Barry,
you forgot
right?
to mention, like, when he first walked in, he first saw the UFO, he thought, oh, that's exactly what they were seeing. Like, he thought, like, those were just U.S. made craft.
That's right, because he walked in the very first day and he got to see the spacecraft, and he said it had an American flag on it. So he was like, oh, this is just like all these like spacecraft stuff. This is just like American military stuff, right?
That they're trying to make.
So they're just trying to like copy it just to, to see what spacecrafts, make the most sense type of thing. So then when the time comes for him to actually start working on his assignment, which was to try and back engineer the propulsion system that was found with the craft, he quickly realized that, like, oh wow, this is some real shit. So basically the propulsion system, as he explains it, it's basically like an anti-gravity propulsion system. So what it manipulates gravity, distorts gravity around the ship or around from whatever direction you're aiming. And it allows you to move through space and time without any effects of an inertia, anything like that, because you're just literally distorting gravity around you. You know what I mean? The best way to describe it, like everybody describes it like this, is you take like a mattress, right? And you drop a bowling ball in the middle of the mattress. Everything's gonna rush into where that bowling ball is at, right? Everything's gonna fall in there. So what that propulsion system is basically doing is creating like a rift in gravity like that. So it just kind of pulls the ship forward.
It creates its own gravity, which we there's nothing that we can. There's no way we can't even create our own.
Yeah, very quickly he realized that, like, oh wow, this cannot be human. This can't be from Earth, because there's absolutely nothing that we know of in any way that can do this. And his job is to back engineer it. So it's like, obviously they didn't put it together. They didn't build it. So things got pretty crazy from there, right? I mean, he basically, like, he had to work with a guy. His name was Barry, and couldn't get a last name on that. Barry's never been contacted or anything like that. Nobody else has ever really come out. But yeah, he worked with a guy named Barry, and he basically was only allowed to talk to Barry, and Barry was only allowed to talk to him. It was very compartmentalized. Everything had to stay in its own lane. Like, you couldn't speak with the guys that are trying to figure out what kind of metal that is, blah, blah, blah. And you can't speak with the guys that are trying to figure out, like, the weaponizing, all that kind of, like, everything was in its own compartment. And that was all you were allowed to, like, inquire about. That was all you were allowed to figure out, So, which is not great for science.
No, because you want to know everything. You guys want to collaborate all together.
Yeah.
You don't want to do a buddy system, because it basically worked like, all right, you know about this, that's all you need to know about.
Yeah.
And the other group, you know about that, that's all you need to know.
Anything else but your thing. And it's like, well, this is a full, this is a ship. Everything kind of, things work together. It's interesting. So, but anyway, yeah. So he learned about this propulsion system and how, he said it was insane. Like, it created no heat, right? Like, no heat residue, which is impossible. Literally every single time electricity or anything, any type of power source is used, it creates heat. That's just how things work. I'm not a physicist, but that he basically said, like, there's no way for power to be created by anything where there's no heat as a byproduct, and this thing just did not. No heat at all.
No heat. That's ridiculous. That's
right. Unreal. No heat at all. Byproduct from this thing, and he even said that it wasn't connected at all. There was no wires. There was nothing connecting things. All was that you had to do was the components had to be together in, like, the vicinity. You know what I mean? And it just worked. So, I mean, it really just defies, like, logic. Like, he even said, like, at one point, a quote from him is, it was borderline magic. You know what I mean? Like, he had there was no way to explain any of it. So that's pretty crazy. He was working on this for, months, I'm pretty sure, total. And, like, throughout the time there, he heard stories. I actually just, as I was doing a little research today, I remember that he talked about, he's pretty sure that there was a guy before him who was working on this who had a tragic accident with the thing. Yeah. He tried to like cut into it with a plasma saw or something, and it exploded and killed him. And so this is no joke. This is real. They were doing some crazy shit there, and then at first he was just exposed like to the propulsion system itself. You know what I mean? Like he was just, the propulsion system was there, and that was what he was supposed to work on and then try and figure it out. And then eventually they started letting him go to the ship. And I think he got like a couple times he was allowed to go see the ship, right?
Yeah, he was allowed to go inside, and he realized that it was made for like something 3 feet tall. Like, yeah. And the thing about that, there was no right angles. It was just all wax.
Yeah. So he got to go see the ship. He got to go inside. And like you were saying, he said it looked a lot like it was like someone made a model out of wax and then heated everything for a few seconds so that everything just kind of formed together and melted together. Like there was no right angles anywhere in the ship. It was all just very smooth, very like flowing together. And I'm pretty sure like there was no like distinction between things. Like everything seemed like it was made all at once together, which is crazy, and then like you said, it definitely was meant for some smaller beings. Like he said he had to duck down when he was standing in it. He's only like 5'10". He said if he had to guess, it would probably be made for something that was probably about 3 feet.
Yeah, 3 feet tall. Yeah. And there was no buttons or anything, like nothing to power the space, like nothing to press. They said there were archways that like would make it look that you could actually see through, and like maybe make it a screen. But again,
yeah, that's right. He said it, but he said that that's not super crazy. Like we have some stuff like that, like certain type of crystals that we can use to kind of make a screen type of thing. But yeah, and yeah, there was no buttons, there was no navigation, anything like that. He didn't get to go to the top story. He said, right? There was 3 stories.
That's off limits. He thinks it's where it's where the navigations takes place, where everything's taking place. So like, where they navigate where to go to A to B.
Yeah. Yep, some sort of navigation system. He thought that was.
I wonder if they do have it, if they would like. Do you think the government would try to fly it to another galaxy, or would that be like too extreme for them? You think, like to another star?
No, remember he was saying like they did not want to take it. They didn't even want to take it out of the atmosphere or anything because like who knows what could happen? You know what I mean? Like it's. I know,
but like if they really wanted to explore space, like
it would be fucking cool, right? What if they could just? Who knows? Maybe they're flying it around in Zeta Reticuli right now. But yeah, if you want to talk about the ship or something, like if you have anything to add in.
Not much else about the ship. Other than like everything on the bottom, nothing was connected either. Like that's like really astonished him.
Yeah,
how it like,
the propulsion system was in the lower level, right? And he ducked down to check it out, and there was just like we said earlier, there's nothing connecting anything together. It just worked, It just worked, which is crazy, It's insane. It's insane to think about, And he said not only was there that ship, but there was like 9 ships in total.
9 ships and all different
kinds, all different shapes, all different sizes.
That definitely leads me to believe that they probably were like spaceships found all over the Earth from like different species.
Yeah, different planets, different solar systems, different everything. One thing that fascinates me is that he said that he'd heard people talking or whatever, and he thinks that the ship that he worked on was recovered in an archaeological dig, which is really interesting, meaning whoever flew the ship came here, like thousands of years ago, maybe even millions of years ago.
That's definitely one of the most interesting topics. Yeah. Like, that means it's been over it could have crashed here millions of years ago.
Could have been hanging out with the dinosaurs. You know what I mean? These fucking aliens could have been chilling with T-Rexes down here and got eaten or something.
Yeah, and that's why the
ship is still here, and then we find it millions of years later.
It kind of makes sense. I mean, if they're 3 feet tall, that T-Rex is pretty big.
Right? T-Rex is just fucking, is a snack, you know what I mean? Just a little alien snack.
And I think even he was like a little, like, why haven't the people with the brushes come out? Like, could you imagine like discovering something like that?
Yeah.
That would be insane.
That would be crazy.
And I think my guess is like they might have discovered just a little bit of it and they like told to leave and like they got like the squad, like the suicide team or something.
Do you think that anytime they find anything like metal or something, they have to alert somebody or something? How would anyone know?
I'm guessing kind of went up somewhere like, yo, what we're like finding something is really strange. Like this metal, like what?
It's weird kind of metal.
I think it probably like immediately, as soon as they figured this metal, like there should not be metal like this far down. Like shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So that's probably
Good
immediate.
Yeah, because anything that far down had to be thousands of years old, right? But we've had metal for a long time, right? Not like that,
yeah.
But yeah, I bet you they saw like they got like a quarter of it,
or like some maybe not even. Maybe they're like, dude, I just like see this. Like, do you see that? Like, how is this even here?
It could be like something from the medieval times, like a sword, or you know what I mean, like anything like that. That's metal. I think that they probably got like a good portion of it, like uncovered. And then,
but I think they soon realized that this is not an archaeological site.
Yeah, they definitely figured that out quickly.
So I've done some research, looked at like supposed archaeological digs that was like supposedly covered from UFOs or anything that like anything popped like mysterious, like what they find here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's nothing.
No, they're not going to say that.
Yeah.
That's not going to be out there.
I know, but like I was thinking like maybe there's an article like this is like a cover up, like what they actually found here. No one knows. Like, like I was trying to find like some old.
Yeah, no, you're not going to find that, dude. That shit's.
But it'd be interesting. It would really be interesting. I would like to know, like, Bob never goes into it, but like where, like I would like to know where they found it.
I know. I wish, man.
And like when they found it. Like was it in the 40s? Was it in the 20s?
Yeah, I mean, Bob was working on this stuff in what, the 80s?
80s, yeah.
Late 80s, early 90s type of thing, or it was late 80s when he was there. Right?
Do you think one of them came from Roswell?
I don't know, man.
That'd be interesting too.
I
we don't know. If it
totally
did,
believe in Roswell. I totally believe that happened.
If it did, though, like that's where the spaceship would go, probably.
Yeah, of course.
We don't know.
I mean,
we don't know how many they have.
If Roswell is true and that actually happened, I'm sure that the craft was there. You know what I mean? Maybe that was the one. Who knows? But like I said, he thought he heard someone saying that they found it in an archaeological dig.
That's crazy.
And then, did we mention the Zeta Reticuli that they believe that that's where it came from, the star system Zeta Reticuli, and they said ZR3.
The third planet.
Yeah, third planet in. As of right now, though, don't they not? There's not really any planets there, or they don't know of any.
They don't know of any planet. They can't deny that there's no planets there because right now our technology can only find huge planets. So like the planet has to be. I think what they said like has to be like Saturn size, like they have to be big.
Oh,
they have to be huge planets
for us to be able to find them.
So like a small planet, like a small Earth,
if it's that far away. You mean?
Yeah, a small Earth-like planet, like us, we wouldn't see. If it was surrounding Zeta Reticuli right now, we wouldn't see it.
Dude, there's got to be other alien. Like, there's got to be other intelligent life out there, dude.
There definitely has to be
some other life.
No doubt. There's just too many stars.
Billions, dude. Billions and billions, dude. There's literally like more stars in the galaxy than there are grains of sand on the Earth. So how are you going to tell me that there isn't another planet that just out there just has like, not even necessarily has to be intelligent life, but like there's life out there for sure.
There might even be life on Mars. Like
maybe, who knows?
Or dude, I think they said
your face on Mars.
Yeah, I actually saw that. There's actually claims of pyramids on Mars, so we can go.
I know, but that's bullshit. I think
we can discuss that another time.
Yeah, we'll go into that eventually.
Europa is probably the most likely place to find
Jupiter's
life.
moon.
Jupiter's moon.
Yeah, the one that has the ice sheet on it. Okay, that's super interesting. Man, this kind of stuff fascinates the shit out of me, dude. And it sucks that we'll never get to like know anything. You know,
unless the spaceship crashes right downtown DTE. But even that, they might be like, all right, everybody in this vicinity, like you guys didn't see anything.
That was Kim Jong-un. Yeah, but even like we'll never get to know like not in our lifetime, at least, we're going to go to like any other planet or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, we may not even go get people on Mars by the time I'm dead. I'll be dead in 20 years.
No, like we're not gonna, we're not gonna. I think it's just to go interstellar. That's definitely that's. I don't even think if I have grandchildren that they would even.
No, not even our grandkids would be at that point. Yeah.
But like, to recap is like, you want to get how you got caught, like.
Well, let's go into. There's more. I mean, he actually even got to see them fly the ship a couple times.
Oh yeah,
which is something that's pretty crazy. Like, they did performance tests for the ship, and they had like advanced ones, and then they also had like just regular, like basic maneuver type stuff too. And he got invited to see a few of those. And just the way he described it was very interesting. Like, you got to see the ship lift off the ground. He said as it lifted off the ground, it made like a slight like hiss, like a sound, like very faint, until it was about 5 or 6 feet off the ground. After that, it was completely silent, which is just mind blowing that something can something that with that much power, something that's doing something that crazy can just be silent. You know what I mean? That's insane. And he got to see it, hover, like fly over, like fly to the right, fly to the left, go up, down type of thing. And it wasn't until like the advanced maneuver ones where you got to see it do some crazy stuff. He said it did some flips, or it did some, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
And they also said the radio should not have been working.
Yeah, I was just about to get into that. One thing that he said was fascinating was they were in contact with the guy that was in there controlling it via radio, but it just doesn't make sense because the ship distorted gravity, distorted all types of energy, and radio signals should not have been able to get through there. So there's, another mystery thrown in there, right?
It's crazy. I think the whole story is just. Could you imagine being the pilot and just not being able to tell anybody? Like, I flew a UFO.
I got to fly an alien spacecraft. I know. That's one thing that like is interesting to me. Like, how is there like hundreds of people that are like in contact with this and working on this and stuff, and nobody else has come out and said anything? Like, I really wish.
Yeah, or
people
like
would come out a little more, man. Come on.
Or like, Evan, if we were in that situation, if we were working there, I definitely would not have come out, like, never said anything while I was working there. But I feel like maybe 10, 15 years after, I mean, you would, even if they told you, like, you never, like, don't ever tell anybody else, you think you would ever let your, like, wife know, or let your, like...
Right, isn't it? I mean, maybe they do, but maybe they're like, you can't fucking tell anybody. Like, maybe they let trusted people that they really trust.
I just feel like at that point, like, you're gonna tell maybe your friend, that friend's like, yo, I heard this story from over here, like, this guy also worked on, like, like something like that. Not even that's happened.
people, got their, people.
I also heard this though. Some other guy said that he didn't work at S4. He worked at just Area 51, the regular base. He says that like some of the secrets he still can't tell, and he gets every year he has to go through a lie detector test and say if he's told everybody or not.
Really?
That's what he told the news.
He worked at Area 51.
Worked at Area 51.
Think he's bullshitting? You think he's just trying to sound cool? I don't know.
No, like it's verifiable that like his like some of his stuff has been declassified so he can commit, but he says like some of it I still can't say. Like they can put me through a lie detector test whenever they want.
To ask whether he's said anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is, I guess, maybe one of the reasons, but I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I think it's the main reason is fear, dude. Like, people think that. I mean, it's the government. The government will fucking kill you. The government doesn't give a shit. The government will take you out if it thinks that you're gonna like divulge some like secrets. You know what I mean? Or if it, like, not only will they kill you, but they can just like fuck up your life. We're going to get into that later about what happened to Bob after this, but like, they can destroy your life. So it's pretty crazy. People just don't out of fear. You know what I mean? There was that the propulsion system the power source that he used was this thing called element 115.
Yeah.
And this was back in the 80s when they figured this out, and they figured out, okay, it runs off of element 115, which in that form, the form that they had it in, that came with the craft, it was a stable element, didn't decay, it didn't have, you know what I mean, didn't emit any radiation, anything like that. And he had, one of the things when he came out, he talked about element 115. People were like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no such thing as element 115. And then in the 90s or 2004, I think it was, right? Element 115 was first synthesized and discovered basically like on Earth. We synthesized.
And 2016 and 2017 is the first time we've actually like been able to keep it as an element or something like that. I'm not very
like a stable form of it, you mean?
No, like the theory, the theory that it could be stable or something. That before it wasn't, probably not, but again, I'm no physicist or anything.
Yeah, we're not chemists or physicists or anything, but yeah,
I know like dissolves like. It's pretty much my chemistry right there.
Yeah, he basically, like, any form that we've ever made on Earth of it that we synthesized was not a stable element. It decayed.
I still don't think we've been able to.
I don't think we ever have had a stabilized version, but the version that Bob claims to have
stolen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's actually even a deeper rumor that he took some element 115 with him when he left. And then they try and say that like he's been raided by the FBI a couple of times, but I don't know whether that's actually true or not.
Well, like we can't see it. Like he says he did. He says he was raided.
He says he's been raided twice.
And one time right after.
There's no way, right, to tell? Or was there video of it? Didn't he get raided while he was working on the documentary with Jeremy Corbell? What if they staged all that, bro? Jeremy Corbell, I don't like him. He's fishy, man.
Why would they stage all that, though?
Why? I mean, because it's part of the story.
It's also fishy. Like, why would they like be keeping a tab on? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
because he took element 115, dude. Because that's apparently what they're trying to find.
Element 115.
Yeah.
I mean. On the documentary, they said that one of his coworkers came out. Yeah, that's where the FBI was and all that. Same was in Michigan too.
Yeah, that's right. He lives in Michigan now. He lives like in the Lansing area.
Could we call like the Lansing? Like, hey, do you go to Bob? Would they tell us?
What?
Like, can I like are there records of like where cops go?
Oh, but that's FBI. That's different. I doubt it. They're not going to keep public records of where the FBI has been. Hell no. But yeah, apparently now he runs like some
lab.
It's like he makes like fireworks, and he makes like radiation detectors and that kind of stuff. Like, you know, in his little lab out there in Lansing area. Yeah, so is there anything else in like the body of the story, you know, anything of his time while working there? So like they said they flew all these objects Wednesday nights because the least amount of traffic, supposedly the least amount of traffic was on the road. So they flew these spacecrafts Wednesday nights to get to like show them off because they thought that's the least amount of time or like people would least likely see something on that highway. Yeah, like drive on that highway. I guess they did like statistics and they figured out like the least amount of traffic went through there on Wednesdays, so they decided that's when they were going to do their high performance tests. All right, so we want to try and get into like how he got caught and stuff. Okay, do you want to go into it or do you want me to go into it?
Go ahead.
Okay, so it's a juicy story here. So at this point, he'd been there for a couple months, right? Like the total amount of time there was only like 3 months, right?
No, it was 6 months. Said 6.
6?
Yeah.
Okay, 6 months. At this point, it had been about 4 months ish, and they've been working on this stuff. Everything that we talked about had happened. He didn't go in like he wasn't like there 24 hours a day working on shit. Like they would call him in at random
weird
times.
Hours, yeah.
And I think like he didn't even go to the base like a ton, like right, like maybe like two times a week or so, 2 or 3 times a week like that. I wonder like what you'd be doing in your off time, knowing all that shit that you know. But anyway, so he'd been going there, for about 3 or 4 months, and one thing, they were very strange hours. like a lot of times he'd be called in at like 11:30 at night, and they'd be like, "Hey, you got to be here in an hour," and or you know what I mean, like strange hours they were working on things, which made his wife a little suspicious, and she started to think, you know, first of all, like he's not allowed to tell her anything. Basically, he's basically just like, I have a top secret job and I can't tell you what I do, and I'm going to be working like really weird hours, and like how you can imagine how she might be like, this is all like, this is all a little fishy, you know what I mean? Because it is, even though like it's in the end it's not, but like that, I'd be fucking weirded out by that too. If my wife was like, oh yeah, I work a top secret job, can't tell you anything about it. Oh, and I'm gonna have to be leaving like at all times of the night, like randomly, and I can't even tell you where I'm going or what I'm doing. So I get that. That's a little a little bit much, but apparently
I'd be like, you really work at Area 51?
Yeah, I'd be like, oh yeah, sure, huh? But yeah, so she got a little suspicious, and when he first started working there, they told him that like, we're going to be tapping your phones,
right?
Just because that's just protocol. You know, you're working at this top secret thing. We have to know that you're not talking to anybody about this on the phone, blah blah. So he knew that, but you know, his wife didn't. And so as they were tapping his phones and monitoring, they found out that his wife started to have an affair with some sort of pilot, right? Like some sort of Navy pilot or something like that. And they didn't know like what to do about that. They didn't know, you know, they didn't really know a ton about Bob's like psychology and like what type of like mentally or emotional type of person he is. So they didn't know how like that scenario would play out. You know what I mean? So what they did is they basically just like, let's stop calling Bob in for a little bit. Let's kind of keep him at distance for a little while till like maybe he'll figure this out and we'll see kind of how he reacts. And so they stopped calling him in, and he got like a little suspicious, right? Like he was like, what's going on? They're not calling me in, blah, blah. And didn't he like, at one point he went there and they denied him. They told him not to come in or something.
Well, he said they said he felt followed.
Well, didn't he try and go into the base a couple of times and they were like, no?
I don't know.
Okay, I thought I read something.
We still don't know if he was still getting banned. If you're still getting paid during that time, I don't.
But you wanted to, I mean, first of all, wouldn't you want to be there, dude? Wouldn't you want to be there working on that shit? I'd want to live there, dude. I would divorce my wife and be like, I'm done with you. I have more important shit to do.
That would be the most interesting job, working at S4.
Oh, are you kidding, dude? That would be the best job ever.
Dude, even if I was just a fucking janitor, like at S4, dude. Or do they you think they
don't even have
Do you think they like close all the doors, like everything, like, all right, you can only look down and sweep right here. Like you can't look at anything else.
I wonder, dude. I wonder if they even do you think that they even like they probably have, I don't know, they probably have their own sort of like in-house cleaning.
That's another thing. Why isn't an in-house cleaner just come out like, dude?
Because they don't tell them shit. It's probably like you said, like everything gets shut down while they clean. They don't clean in the like room where the fucking aliens are hanging out. You know what I mean? That shit can get dirty if it needs to. But anyway, yeah, so they stopped calling him in, and he was kind of wondering like, what's going on? Like, why aren't they, you know? And then he started noticing like people were kind of following him and stuff, right? Like people were following him. Like he didn't know who they were. People were in cars, like they were just obviously like tailing him and stuff. So he started to get a little scared, you know, he started to be like, what's going on? Did I do something? Are they going to kill me? You know, he was thinking crazy. So at that point, he decided like, I need to like come out to some of my close friends here and like tell them what's been going on, what I've been working on, and like what's happening right now. So he did that. There was apparently like 4 people. Was his wife one of them? His wife was included, right?
Right.
Yeah, his wife and like 2 other friends. And I'm sure at first they were like, okay, yeah, sure, type of thing. And then he goes, well, you know what? I can just show you. Because he still had some of the flight schedule for the ship, right? So he was like, all right, on, Wednesday, we're going to sneak out to this like mountaintop here over that, like the one that overlooks like Papoose Lake and everything. And we'll see the ship. You can see it for yourself. And so he did that, and he took his friends there, and they got to see it. And that's one thing about the story. Didn't they like track those people down, and they've confirmed like that they saw some crazy shit that day?
Well, like George Knapp
know for a fact that it's like aliens or anything because they were far away, but like they're like that for sure was something.
Well, they said it did some crazy turns and everything. Yes. And if you look at the video dates, it was Wednesday night. So like how Bob knew that, it's dated and timed, and it's 2 times. So George Knapp mentioned that it's been twice. So he filmed it twice. How do you know twice? How do you know both nights on Wednesday nights that they were flying? That's still like a big mystery.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because the 80s are damn time, like at 9:30.
Yeah, I remember
Wednesday
that.
Night.
Problem is, this is back in the 80s, and the video cameras sucked back then. So it's tough.
Yes.
Like I've seen the videos, and it's like
nothing. It's just a light. It's just like a light.
You just want so much more, man.
Yeah.
You're like, why?
I guess in the 80s, I mean, you could like hold the camera and like Evan stand like 30 feet away, hold this like thing. And
like you could make it look like that, but at the same time, even if you actually were seeing that, that's what it would look like back in the 80s too, because it was so shitty. Like the cameras were very shitty, and like
definitely if this happened now, you could get way better quality.
Yeah. Which I wish it would happen now. But now the security now is like way more intense. But anyway, so they were going out there and they were watching this go on, and like apparently they started to get a little reckless with it. Yeah. They were being like apparently one time they brought like a camper up there and like were like hanging out and watching it outside, and then out of nowhere some like SWAT team or like recon team just like pops out and arrests them all. And obviously I wonder what they said to like the other people, you know what I mean? The other 3 people. That would be really scary, being one of those people. Like, are they going to kill me? What's going on? But as from what Bob said, they were kind of like grilling him about it. Like, I'm sure what are you doing? Like, this is crazy. You're bringing civilians. Like, what? Blah blah. At that point is when they told him about the affair his wife was having. Right. At that time,
like a kind of final fu.
Yeah,
you're gonna not work on this cool thing anymore. And oh, by the way,
your wife's banging up high. Like, it's rough. Like top secret. When you're working on top secret stuff like that, and you can't tell anybody about it, like there's a level of trust that you just can't have with certain people. You know what I mean? With anybody else, which for a relationship that would be tough.
But like, I think what intrigues us most about this story is, what other story have you heard of someone back engineering UFO craft?
Yeah.
I think this is like captivated the world, because that's why it's so interesting. Like,
yeah. And with so much detail and so many little things in there that have turned out to be true eventually. Which
Element 115.
Yeah, especially like Element 115. That's the most. There's also the.
Well, I kind of want to get into it.
Yeah,
so
we'll get into that. Actually, let's finish. Did we finish up on the story part? Like he got kicked out because obviously he was taking people up there. Like they didn't kill him or anything. They let him go, but he got kicked off the project like for good. You're done. And it was like a week or so later.
Yeah,
he thinks that there was an assassination attempt on him. That. There's 2 people in a car that were following him. Careful. There's 2 people in a car that were following him, and they shot at him, right? And he somehow like got away. They weren't gonna like stop, and they were just trying to do a quick job, and they fucked it up.
So they shot at him, and apparently he turned, and the car just drove off.
Yeah. And that's what ended up making him come out and say something.
At first, he posed as Dennis, his supervisor, and then eventually he came out and like they knew it was.
Oh, Dennis. What was it, Dennis?
Mariani,
which we've done some digging there.
We'll just get into all of it. All right, so the fishies thing, so I read his name is, I forget his name, but he did all the background education research on Bob Lazar. He said the first thing that sounds fishy is when he asked Bob Lazar what year he graduated MIT with his master's. He said he thinks it was 1982, and he said, like, if you graduated with a master's in physics propulsion at MIT, you fucking know the year. You don't think. Secondly,
who was this? George Knapp?
No, this is someone else who investigated his education.
Oh, okay. Someone who
invest deeply.
Okay.
And this is the biggest skeptic, and this is the biggest. Like this, I think he holds like the most evidence against. When he asked him, could you name some professors that like who might remember you, right? He named like 3 professors, right? 2 of them couldn't find anything of, and he said that's really strange because why would you like kill your would you go that far deep and like just make your professors disappear? Or do you think he was just making up names? So he thought he was making up names. Third guy actually existed. It turns out that he was not a professor at Caltech. He was a professor at a JUCO school. And Bob Lazar took one of his classes there when he supposedly took a class at Caltech. The professor actually came out and said, like, he went to class. He was one of my students at this what's it, JUCO? Yeah. But again, if you look at it, a big thing against that is like there's no record of him even like at that JUCO. Like,
who did this investigation?
He was a skeptic, and it turns out that he was actually taking one of this professors at this JUCO college. So I think that's the biggest thing is you cannot verify.
Yeah, that's the one thing. He doesn't have any school records. Now, obviously, if you're coming from his standpoint, he claims
it's all been erased.
The government just erased all that. And I mean, there is some. We're going to get into that later, but like the government has erased like his social security number, like a lot of things. So,
and the professor also like said, like, why has any professor, so he can't name a professor that actually
not from MIT either.
You can't name a professor.
That's interesting. To be honest with you, I mean, if I really think about it, I don't think I could name any professors that
I don't think so either. But like, why would you name a professor that actually went to a JUCO? I don't know. Like, that's just the fishy part of the story.
Yeah.
But to his credit, there have been students that's come out and said that, you know, he was in, he studied at Caltech with me. The thing is, they won't come on camera. Yeah. And you all have to believe like Jeremy Corbell and like the documentary or George Knapp what they do. But like, I believe them. Like, why would they?
Here's the thing. I definitely believe George Knapp. I don't know about Jeremy Corbell, dude. I don't know if I like him. It's not that I don't believe him. I just don't like him. He gives off a bullshitty vibe. And I don't like it. And it gives off a bullshitty vibe because he tries to over-explain things and he tries to jump in on things.
But, like, again, why would George Knapp, like, need to lie about...
I like George Knapp.
Why would he need to lie about... Another one is physicists claim you cannot just take element 115. You need, like, a huge reactor thing. Like, you cannot just take that. Like, there's no way.
Okay, but here's the thing. He doesn't claim that he took it anymore, right?
But here's the thing, like... You don't know how advanced or like in what kind of form this is, right? If it's supposedly uncaptured, I guess that can kind of be.
I don't care about that. Yeah. That one's silly. They're saying things that they don't know for a fact. You know what I mean? They're just talking. And
then also, do you want to talk about Dennis Mariani or his claim supervisor?
Well, just because there's nothing about Dennis Mariani anywhere. But they could just like hide that too. You know what I mean?
And there's real Dennis Mariani's, just none
of them that say they worked at S4. I mean, what would you even like? You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure, according to like the public, like when they file their taxes or when that kind of stuff, like people think they work for the Navy, right? Yeah, you were saying like his pay stuff.
So I was gonna go
into that. Go ahead.
Oh, do you want to talk? Or do you have any more Do you want to let's finish the skeptical side of this before we.
I haven't done much research on the skeptical stuff because I fucking believe them. But is there anything else?
Do you want me to like? I guess there's just stuff on like. No one else has really come out.
I believe the guy.
No one else has come out. Like, he's the only one really.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. That's not like proof against or anything. You know what I mean? Just because nobody else has come out. Yeah, nobody else has come out because they saw what happened to him and they don't want that to happen. And or worse, they fear that the government will do even worse. Fucking kill him.
I just go back to the story again. Like, in 15 years after I worked there, I might like tell someone who might tell someone else who might like,
That's why you would never have that job, Arel. All right.
If the government's listening, like
if you're working there, like you're a very important person, like you're doing, you know what I mean, in your field or in your like.
How could you hold that in?
Because they don't care about other people. They don't care about like any of that. They just like they care about like what they're doing. They have real lives that they don't want to get fucked over by anything. So
you want to go into like the stuff that makes this story most believable?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I think the biggest article for everything being true is that news article is real. That states that he was a physicist at Los Alamos.
Yeah. Well, let's real quick though, Skirt. Another thing, like people like say there's no record of him working at Los Alamos at all, right?
Right.
Like they said, but that isn't there people that think, or people that they've contacted that worked there with him that say they did work with him.
His name was in Krangler. Is the guy who worked at Los Alamos. He says, well, he was a physicist, which I'm a physicist, but we kind of recognized each other. It's the classic pocket condom with all the proper different colored pens. He fit that mold. If nobody would have told me he was a physicist, one look and you could tell he's a physicist.
Yeah, and there's interviews of that, yet there's no record of him working there.
Yes.
Because the government tried to erase it.
Correct.
Basically. So, I mean, it's a this or that with every story. It just, do you want to believe his story and say, yeah, it's because the government erased it, or do you want to believe
the phone book thing is also interesting?
Yeah, that they found
how many Robert S.
Right?
Yeah, how many Robert S. Lazars are there?
Yeah,
they had to be really smart and just knew like, dude, there's another Robert S. Lazar at Los Alamos, so like made the story. But
yeah, so his name was in the directory there,
right? And they said George Knapp like contacted them like specific times, mentioning the news article and the phone book, and the official felt exasperated, like said like really high pressed, like the exasperated official was like, no, we have like no record of him, sorry.
Wink wink. Wait, did I say that? Yeah, so
it must have been like a weird story, like because it's interesting. I see like you have a phone book and you have the newspaper article, and the guy like, nope, never heard of him.
Yeah, right, don't know who that is. Yeah, it's just there's so much that another thing that that people say discredits him. Recently it was like 20, like I don't know when it was, but he got arrested for like basically like being involved in a brothel, right? Like he like did like accounting or something for it, or he was like running he was doing something for them.
So real quick, that's another con that I forgot to mention, that what the skeptics say that when he first opened it was 1981, and they say that he just didn't work. Like he made enough money from the brothel that he didn't need to work.
I never realized that the brothel was going on back then, huh? The brothel was back in the 80s? I thought the brothel was way later.
But they said like he filed for bankruptcy in 1987, and it wasn't in any of the but why would it be? It's like income that's like...
He's not going to claim that he's working on a brothel and that he's receiving income.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like a science dude, like brothel.
Do we know any more on that situation? Did you look into that at all?
So like he got busted, right? And George Knapp said the reason why like the time to come clean was when you were on parole. Like you're going to go to jail if you like made this up. And if you were like a UFO con guy, like George said, like that's the time to come clean. That's the time to say, because you're gonna face jail time. But yet he stuck with the story. Like it's like they asked him like where you work, where did you get your education? He said MIT and Caltech.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. In court when he was like getting. But when did he go to court? This is in the 90s.
This is in the 90s. This is after.
Okay, so this is after his time at S4.
Yeah. That is interesting.
Damn. There's a big old wrench in there, you know what I mean?
But you still have to look at the evidence about the Los Alamos, that he was a physicist at Los Alamos. Like that the news article claims says he was a physicist at Los Alamos.
It's weird. So maybe he was just like somehow involved in this brothel during the whole time. I mean, wasn't it just like he was just doing like accounting or something for them? Like
he was like a partner. It was like,
was this in a spot where it was legal or no?
Nevada.
Because isn't it legal in Nevada, or it's in certain counties it is.
And I'm gonna have to, but like I would say like you could do some illegal things like in doing with illegal, but like maybe like how they paid.
Look it up, see if you can find it. Maybe he owned. If I lived in fucking Nevada and I could, wouldn't you get in on a legal brothel? Like those things probably make so much fucking money. It's one of the only places in the country where that's actually legal. Plus, it's Vegas. People are winning tons of money. People have tons of money to go blow. Damn, is this that big of an article, bro?
Dude, this is such a fucking long article. All right. In 1990, Lazar was arrested for aiding and abetting a prostitution ring.
An illegal prostitution ring?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was reduced to a felony for pandering, which he pleaded guilty.
Yeah, I'm sure that... what is pandering, technically?
Pandering is the facilitation or provision of prostitute or sex workers.
That's an interesting term. I didn't know that meant that.
He was ordered to do 150 hours of community service and to stay away from brothels and undergo psychotherapy.
Before S4, right?
Yeah, before S4.
That's...
That is interesting.
I like that. I don't like this.
I don't like that either. Like, that's interesting. That is interesting.
That almost makes me not want to believe him. Why the fuck would you be doing that when you're a physicist at Los Alamos and working on alien spacecrafts, man?
So you going to not believe it after this
I might be turning against fucking Bob Lazar, dude. What?
That's kind of interesting. It is. Why would you like?
Why would you be doing that while you're fucking working as a physicist and shit? Like,
but I guess you can say it's not proven. Like supposedly.
Yeah. I wonder what proof do they have?
All right, here. Bob Omni Timothy's Goods Alien Cut reported that Lazar bought at least a partial ownership in a legal brothel near Reno in the early 1980s. Goods said was called the Honeysuckle Ranch.
It's a good name.
Omni reported the investment was so profitable, Lazar didn't have to return to a full-time employment for several years. However, such ownership was not mentioned in Lazar's bankruptcy papers in 1986. A search in the Nevada telephone directory failed to turn up a listing for Honeysuckle Ranch, nor was it listed in the book of the best cat houses in Nevada.
I'm all confused now.
What's confusing? Let me try to clarify it.
So he bought a legal brothel.
Yeah.
And made a ton of money off of it.
Yes. They were doing illegal things in the brothel.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was a legal brothel. That's why it was
a legal brothel.
That's why, dude, if you were caught.
What kind of illegal things were they doing in the brothel? Like money laundering? Like what kind of stuff?
He violated like the federal hazardous substantial. Yeah, he just violated like some laws, like for how to keep these prostitutes. Like what? That's what he got. Like he wasn't like handling some things properly.
Okay.
He wasn't paying them right.
I got you. Okay, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, I get it now, but I don't like it. Maybe he bought into it. And then, like, just basically was like an investor, basically, you know what I mean? And just ended up getting caught up. Like, he didn't actually do much there.
Yeah, it said it was a partial owner.
Okay, so he wasn't ever really,
He just said the guy claimed, the other guy claimed that he made so much money they didn't have to work. Like, the other guy, the other owner.
Okay. It's sticky, dude. It's a sticky situation.
Okay, so you want to go into the pros? All right, let's go to the pros of this story.
What I mean, the main pro is the Los Alamos stuff, right?
Yes.
Like that.
The news
It's
article.
basically confirmed through multiple different ways that he did work at Los Alamos and he was a physicist there.
And a physicist actually came out and did an interview saying that, he knew Bob Lazar. They worked with him.
His name is in a directory.
Yes.
Yet the government claims that he never worked there and there's no record of him working there.
And George Knapp actually called Los Alamos, and the official was really exasperated. And still no record of him. Even after he said even after this news article and this phone directory, he's like, nope, never heard of him.
Yeah. And then I think another big pro is the Element 115.
Element 115,
right? Element 115 just turned out to actually be real,
right?
Later on, and he claimed it back in the 80s, late 80s. What else?
There actually is a base called S4, so that's a.
How do they know this?
George Knapp called Dulles Air Force Base, verified there's a base called S4, but didn't say where or where. But there's a base called S4, and how would Bob know that? Yeah. They said a background guy, and this is also public knowledge. Mike Thigpen actually worked background for. He worked background for the agency who was hiring Bob Lazar. They were doing the background checks and doing everything. And Mike Thigpen was one of the guys who verified everything, did it. He never came out publicly again, but George Knapp has said that he remembers Bob. He did the background check, everything on Bob. He knows who Bob is. And Mike Thigpen's a real guy. He actually worked there. And Mike Thigpen, into credit, Mike Thigpen, if George Knapp was making that up, Mike Thigpen could easily say, what the fuck are you guys talking about? You know what I'm saying? So that's a huge plus. And then his friends are quiet to come out, scared to come out.
Yeah, his friends won't say anything about it. And other than, according to George Knapp, they agree that it happened. They say it. Yeah. So.
And how did Bob know the test flight schedule? How did Bob know, this and this? So there's stuff that checks out.
There's a lot of stuff that checks out. And I mean, and just off of feel, just off of, when seeing him talk and
smart guy.
He is a very smart guy. He doesn't try and bullshit. You know what I mean? There's that bullshit thing, which you can tell right away with Jeremy Corbell. You know what I mean? The way he talks and the way he explains things are such a
I have a pretty good
confrontational way. Almost, it's a very jumping ahead of the skepticism type of way of talking, which is but Bob does not have that at all. Bob just seems so genuine, you know what I mean? Very, and like we said, he's not making money off of this. He's not going around touring, writing books or anything like that. He hates it. He doesn't like that it's part of his life. Or he's mad probably that he didn't just continue working on it, or you know what I mean? I would be, dude. How mad at yourself would you be? I'd be so mad at my wife. It's kind of her fucking fault for fucking around, dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? Really all comes down to his wife. If he wasn't fucking married.
Dude, for me, you would have to lie constantly to your wife, to your kids.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has kids, but
I don't think he does.
But to his wife, to his friends, be just lying and I wouldn't know how I feel dude, my life was started I got documentary about myself, about this shit that just came up one day high, Yeah,
it's crazy.
And it would be impressive if he was making this shit all up too. How he knew Element 115, Los Alamos,
yeah.
But I believe him.
Do you?
Yeah, I believe him.
In the end, I do.
But there are things.
There's a lot of stuff. It's just the sad part is we'll never know. You know what I mean? Maybe on his deathbed or something, he'll come out. And
or
say
with
it's
this
fake.
Element 115 that they can finally say this is synthesized by something else.
Yeah. I mean,
there might be something that he's hiding at his deathbed, waiting for it to come out, so they know they won't kill him. If he reveals this.
Hopefully, he's in his 40s or 50s right now.
60s, I think.
Is he that old? Yeah, that's right. He's probably in his 50s because he was 20 something in the 80s. So yeah, he's getting up there.
61, 1959. January 26, 1959.
All right, so we'll see if I survive long enough to see him die on his deathbed and have him confess to it all being bullshit, or it's all real.
Right.
And I've listened to a bunch of Joe Rogan podcasts. Like I listen to most of them. And anytime he talks to a lot of other guests about Bob Lazar, he always says, like, there's something that he told me at dinner that, like, really made me, like, get behind him, like, 100%, but I can't say it on the podcast. He asked me not to say it. So there's something out there, dude. He said that a couple times to a couple different people on the podcast. That, like, they went out and had dinner later, and Bob was talking even more. And there's like even more to like the story that he's not going to say. Probably has to
hopefully
with him taking the element 115.
Well, if they can verify, prove that, and synthesize that,
should he just come out with? Should he just like?
Well, I think he's probably afraid to.
Who would he give it to? Some investigative journalist or something? I wonder. We'll never know. Should we go hang out with him? We should go find him, and he's not too far from here, dude. He's like an hour and a half. You're like, yo, let me get some element 115. All right, so I mean, Bob Lazar, man, crazy stuff, dude, crazy stuff. This guy, I mean, I like I said before, I want to believe him. I do kind of believe him, but there's some things, there's some things that's tough to get by. But
I want it to be true.
Yes, we definitely want it to be true. I mean,
but there's definitely there's just so much evidence. Like I can't positively say that
nobody can, and that's what sucks about it is we'll never know until maybe one day in his deathbed when he decides to say it was all fake, or
Evan, we're gonna get a remote control small car and we're gonna drive it out to Papoose Lake and see if there's a base there
with a little camera on it.
With a little camera, so that, and if there's no base, then he made that BS up.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys for listening, man. We had a good time going over this kind of stuff. Bob Lazar is, one of our favorite things, so that's why we decided to do that for the first podcast. Next episode is going to be about ancient Egypt and all kinds of mysteries going on there. Lots of really cool stuff.
It's juicy.
Yeah, definitely. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And again, thank you guys for listening to the Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros. Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros.
Mystery Bros. Mystery Bros.